don't know if he was in China. I think he was in Japan.
Well,
I take that back.
Well, you can open it up and you can look at it and smell it, and you can see what it's about. We pride ourselves on. You can pull that little part out too.
I can smell it already.
We pride ourselves on having really fine tea here, better than. Let's pull it straight up. Better than average tea. You know, we think we do better than Lipton here.
Okay, now I would have no idea how to do this.
Oh, no,
you just threw it right in the pot?
Oh, it's already in the pot. It's in
Okay.
a tea ball in the pot. But I'm just like, maybe she could pour her a cup of it.
Which would you like? Just which again?
I recommend the dark.
This one, the green and the black.
The black.
For starters. And there's cream in this little thing right here.
Okay.
And there's
got a nice little tray here. I love
sugar
this.
in here, and there's other sweeteners and things.
Very nice.
They
That's
tell
the
me
other
that
side.
you're too shy to come on TV.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, I wanted to see what was going to happen.
We saved it for you to come in.
Actually, I'm the only qualified person here
You
to
wanted to
participate.
You wanted to see if it was a trick, didn't you?
Yeah.
It is.
That's good. You see, I come from a line of bootleggers.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yes.
My ma used to make moonshine whiskey in the middle of Detroit, Michigan.
Give the little mad scientist
This? She also made her own beer. And made a few bucks and beat the IRS out of it. No, ATBF, I guess it is.
Yeah, they came to raid her house, the story goes, and she had the keg in the dining room. So she whipped the tablecloth out of her buffet,
Threw it over it, made a
put it
little
over the
table.
keg, and then set him, who was like 2 or 3 years old at the time, just set him on there. So, you know, no cop is going to bother a 2 or 3-year-old kid, not knowing he's sitting on this keg of illegal stuff.
All right.
Nice.
Well, this is Moss. He's been singing us songs. He's written some good songs. He sang a really funny song earlier about being from the shallow end of the gene pool.
Oh. Yeah. You're proud of it, right?
I do all right.
And what are you knitting?
A cap. It's about all I knit. I was knitting scarves for a long time, and I found out I knit these and give them away to the homeless people in town.
Oh, okay.
And I found out that most of the homeless people saw scarves as more of a fashion object, whereas the cap is something that keeps you warm.
Useful, yeah.
So I just
Yeah,
strictly
unfortunately,
knit
we
caps
saw
now.
some of the homeless people yesterday. It's very sad to see. We went on the ghost tour of Asheville, and they took us down Church Street. And there was like 3 different churches on the corners, and in the alcove of one of the churches, the people were laying there sleeping.
Well, I'm president of Asheville Homeless Network, which is, as far as we know, the nation's only homeless membership organization. And
Must be very satisfying.
it has been at times, and at times it gets a little sparse, you know. But we are doing a few things. We gave out like 28 dozen socks last month.
They love socks. I know that socks is like a hard
Glad to
thing.
hear it was an even number. We gave about 27 socks last year.
No, dozens.
28 dozen pair, actually.
28 dozen pair. That's a lot.
You're stuck with one little chair way back home.
Yeah,
Have more tea.
the place that we got them from, if we buy 20 dozen,
that's your shit.
they're $4.50 a dozen, and you can't beat that.
Now, do you know which one is your teacup?
This one?
Yeah, I guess so.
Excuse me.
And there's one for you. There's a teacup for you.
I'll pass.
Do you not drink tea?
Oh, he does.
You should. We should have some. Well, I
This
don't
is
know.
very good. This is black. This is what this is,
That's
right?
with this black tea, right?
I'll take
Pour you.
this.
I'm gonna pour you a mug.
Okay.
There's nothing in it. It's just straight.
He's pouring you some
I'll
of the
pour you
little
some.
mug
Yeah.
right here. It has the name of the tea company on it.
Here you go.
That's good stuff.
We're in Virginia, and you go down in D.C. and you see a lot of the homeless people too. And the sad part to me is that
Pass the camera.
they will offer, like on cold nights, you know, when the temperature's down to 0 and the wind chill's like 10 below 0, to come by and offer homes for these people that come with the vans and stuff, and people won't go for warm. They don't want to give up their little. To me, it's like a
Space.
store cover that they're laying over because of the heat's coming up out of the
Steam in New
out of the
York,
thing.
that was it.
Yeah.
New York's the subways.
Yes.
Well, we had someone freeze to death here in Asheville in January.
It got kind of cold here.
Yeah.
I didn't think it did.
I'm
No, it can
surprised-
get cold here.
I'm surprised we don't have more of that than we do.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, I suppose if you're not that healthy to begin with, your immune system is not quite right.
You can easily freeze to death
Right.
up here.
The
Right.
thing about this town is the temperature can change. I have experienced the temperature changing easily 40 degrees in one day in this
In
town.
one day.
Yeah.
Water levels are here too.
Mm-hmm.
We came up here after the last big flood you had.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. That really kind of wreaked some havoc.
It did, because we were down by the Biltmore, and when you see the rich people even getting hit, it's kind of like, okay, Mother Nature knows no bounds, does it? And you're extremely helpless against it.
What really kind of hit me is the number of artists that were down in the River District that lost all their stuff that weren't insured.
Oh my.
Oh my. Yeah.
See, we were just talking about stuff like that. If your house was on fire, what would be the first thing you'd grab after your children and all the people were out of the house? What would be the first thing that you would grab to save?
My computer.
Your computer?
My dog.
My guitars. Yeah, my guitars. and
Dogs
my
are high on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had said photographs,
I
because I
think
figured
about that often.
put my
you know,
photographs.
And you kind of come to the thought where if it's, as much as you're going to miss what's burnt, if you got your family and your pets and live, things
Well,
that
as I said,
can't be really
everything-
replaced
everything's
out,
fine.
then you just got to be in the mindset that it's gone and it's not going to be replaced. A lot of things, like I said, in the flood, I had a storage shed and I lost some
Okay.
stuff that I was carrying for years, old cameras and old stuff, and I miss them, but they're gone. There's really, you can't weep over it.
Well, a lot of my photographs have been scanned and posted to my family members, and
That's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
So I've got storage for them online as well as a Yahoo group for two sides of my family. And
See, I got some. How would you do that? Like, can you do it in really old photos?
yeah.
My mother has recently passed away, and she had just
In fact,
before
if you've
she
got really good software, you can almost restore them with it.
really.
Yeah, you can scan
Because I've
it.
got like pictures that she had taken, black and white photos back in the 1940s when
Yeah.
her and my dad were just going out and stuff like that, And that's what I have in the house. It's like, oh my gosh, to pass that down to your grandchildren and their children, and so they know where their roots are. You got to know your roots, I think. It helps.
Yeah, I digitally scanned a lot of photos. But you
I don't
look
know
at
how to
your
do that.
catalog and then you start saying, it's a project. Because you have so many and you try and do them a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
But that's a good way, then they're permanently stored. Unless your software messes up,
Well, Jonathan was,
Oh, that's why
Well, then
I
you're in
post them
trouble.
on my website.
Yeah.
Jonathan was afraid that you would come and tell
stories.
Stories
something on
about
him that would embarrass him.
Yeah.
Make me an offer.
And so
I'll do it for free.
we were wondering what. And do me a favor. Okay, take that little teacup with the brown ring on it. Oh, take that somewhere. Nobody's using that one, are they?
All right.
I don't think.
That's for the May I had her.
And slide the black square thing out a little bit further. That way.
Well, I guess I'm the only one making a hat here, so that's me.
That's good. Now, all right. That's our microphone. That square thing.
Oh, okay.
That's the microphone that picks up everybody on that end of
Oh
the table.
gosh, where to begin, Eddie?
So
Well,
something
He loved
really
we'll start with.
embarrassing.
I guess we could start with something very
mild.
mild.
No. Something really embarrassing.
Well, we have had our problem for getting his interest in school. First of all, he starts off with thinks that teachers are stupid. Secondly, he thinks that he's smarter than them. And
Which he probably is.
and it goes in some direction from there. And that's what his attitude was in middle school, and I guess at the beginning of high school. Well, he had a science project, and he brought his stuff back, and he was borderline with mom, so she'd see what your assignments are. Oh, okay, it's due. Well, you got a whole month to do it. You ought to be able to get it done. So, and we went on, and he'd be checked on weekly. 4 days before We still haven't seen any evidence of this display or whatever it's supposed to be coming about. And then came deadline day, and Mom said, "Where's your assignment?" "Don't worry about it, Mom. I got that, teacher." Right there. Yeah, right. So we didn't think. Well, we were sure he did not turn into the assignment, and that would not have been unusual. But he did. All this time, this snake is putting his thing together, and he got the highest mark in the class.
We didn't think it was
A+ on the assignment.
Well,
He'd like to play games like that.
that doesn't sound very embarrassing.
No.
No,
That's
that's
what-
why
it was
we start
embarrassing to us.
miles.
Now, here, I have a story yesterday, because when he told me that you had asked him this, he said, and I told him the story I was going to tell, and he says, "Oh, Mom, please, no." So I guess that would be the one, huh?
That would be.
Apparently
that
it
sounds
would,
like
yeah.
it. Do you have children?
No.
No children? No children?
I have children, they're grown.
Okay, if you go through the potty training stages of children, it's very interesting. Especially little boys. It's like little boys just don't want to take time out from playing outside to come
If
in
you
and...
tell this story, I will cut the fee right now.
We know who has the power in this room.
Pay attention to the crawl. You want to mess with me? I'll know we can mess with you.
All right, leave him alone.
Yeah, leave him alone. Okay.
The intro in and of
Yeah,
itself.
that was just good, wasn't it?
That was actually probably enough. We actually like Jonathan.
Yes,
around here.
yeah. Unfortunately, he is well potty trained by now.
Actually, it fits with the mad scientist theme because he invented disposable undies.
Sorta.
Let him explain that one to you after. He was about 13, 14,
When?
the car.
Oh.
And
liked this- yeah.
I had a...
We can hear you down here.
we had a station wagon.
Apparently, we're doing a good job.
And I got up one morning, I just woke up in the middle of the night, for whatever reason, and I happened to look out the front window. My car's gone. My
Yeah, 3
station
o'clock in the
wagon.
morning.
And he's how old now?
Oh, about 14.
14.
13,
Yeah,
maybe
14.
13, 14. And your
Yeah.
car is gone.
My car is missing. We didn't check to see if he was missing.
No, we didn't.
We just said the car was missing.
Yeah, so
We called the
what does a good
police.
citizen do?
Called the police.
Hey, my car's been stolen from in front of my house. So here comes the sheriff. Lights, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, you have to understand Winchester, Virginia. Yeah, they just, any little call they get, they gotta, big show.
Gotta show the ball.
Oh, absolutely. We're busy.
So anyway, they show up and take all sorts of information. And it never occurred to me to look for Jonathan. Why would I look for Jonathan? He's in his bed, right? So
So at this point, you find out the car is missing and Jonathan is
Yeah.
missing.
No, we don't know.
No,
Jonathan's
we don't know
missing.
yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
No, we
Okay,
called
so
the police
away
with the car
goes-
stolen.
Well, you
the
just
cops say,
assume.
well, we'll make a report on this, and we may come back later on and check and see, if there's anything else you want to add
Well, the
to
police
it.
officer came in the house to take the
Yeah.
report. So he's in the house talking to us about what? Half hour? Not that long.
Yeah. And
Goes back outside.
yeah,
We say goodbye.
yep.
And the car is in front of the house.
It has returned
It has
magically.
returned. And of course, Jonathan did see the police there, so he kind of went around the back way and into the dark and climbed up. We have a deck in the back of the house.
Uh-huh.
Climbed up on the deck, climbed in his bedroom window. He was in bed.
He's a smart
He is.
boy.
Yeah. Oh, he is.
Yeah.
He is.
Slides a bit.
Well, I'll tell you that story. So then what happened? Did the police figure it out, or
I think they had a suspicion. That's why they weren't too hot on pursuing the matter. They just
well,
said,
the
"Oh,
car
just
was
wait."
back.
Right. Yeah.
a friend of mine got in a pursuit situation where he was on a date, I think, and had a girl with him in the car, and but he had been drinking some, and the police for some reason decided to pull him over, and he decided that he could outrun them, and so he did. and he ran, he actually got enough ahead of them, and then he got on a street where they couldn't even see him, and he pulled up in a driveway and stopped and parked right there. See, and then the police came up the road, and they pulled in right up behind him, because although he had pulled in and turned off the lights,
his foot was on the foot brake.
His foot was on the brake.
Oh, little booger.
He was sitting there with his foot on the brake, thinking they'll just go right on by, and they just came right up
Right
behind
to
him.
him.
And the second thing they did is put their hand on the hood. Hot.
Can I assume that he never went on another date with this young lady again?
There might be something like that to the story.
Yeah. It could go either way. They could have been instant match, or
Well,
Jonathan
And
had
I
a
may
story
not have
too.
told the story exactly right, but the point of the story is he thinks he's gotten away, but his foot is on the brake, so his taillights are on, and they're right on him.
I guess it's a sequel. Yeah.
What?
We found out later that Jonathan's been down there for 6 months.
Right, sorry. Yeah, that was scary. That was scary. A little bit
Way to
later
go,
down the road,
Jonathan.
where he's already old enough to drive and he's old enough to drink. Him and his buddies are at a place. It's like a bar kind of thing, bar, pizza, whatever these things are. So he leaves when it closes, 2 in the morning. Coming down the street, turn onto our street. He's only like 3 blocks from home. His police officer decides to stop him. Jonathan gets out of his Jeep, and the cop asks him to take a breath analysis test. And Jonathan says, well, what happens if I refuse? And the cop just looked at him and he said, I don't have to answer that question. And I'm thinking, okay, so Jonathan just kind of, Jonathan, I don't know if you know him, he's very laid back until you really push him into a corner. Because on the cop said, he said, my main job is to keep my wife and kids safe on the street from drunks like you.
You don't want to hear the reply.
So Jonathan looks at him and he says, officer, if your wife and your daughter's out on the street at 3 o'clock in the morning, you got more problems than me. Slapped on the handcuffs and off to jail he went. Then I get the call, Mom, can you come get me? I'm at jail. So am I.
He has had in the past a few incidents where he's a good guy. So he and a bunch of buddies, and he just happened to be the oldest at 16 or 17 in the car, and he did not have his driver's license yet. And the driver of the car pulled up to a gas station, and Jonathan went in to get whatever drink he was drinking then, Dr. Pepper, I don't know, and he got one, and the guy said, I'm going to get some gas while we're here. I said, okay. Well, Jonathan gets the car, and the guy says, okay, everybody in? He said, yeah. He took off, didn't pay for the gas.
In West Virginia. So that was another call we got from the magistrate's
They
office.
reported, and
Because he was the oldest one. He was over 60 and the other ones were not. So they got to go home and he was locked up.
but he told me, he said, sometimes these cops are pretty serious. I said, really? I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, we pulled into this other place, and the cop car, a West Virginia police car there, with the flights and all that stuff going. And he said, across the hood, there's this trooper saying, get out of the car, put your hands on your head, don't even think about doing anything dumb. He made them all lay down, he kissed them, all that stuff. Everyone else got to go home. Pops and moms and pops picked him up. Jonathan heard a big wham.
He's had his share. Yeah. I think he's definitely streetwise by this time.
How are we doing, Jonathan?
Very good of you guys to bail him out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well.
Well, you're right there. I thought about it.
That's all right. They make up for it by telling stories on him later.
Yeah, see, now it's funny. At the time, it was like, oh, my God. What am I going to do with this boy? What am I going to do with this boy?
I'm working very hard with the Lord to keep me alive long enough that he gets married and has a kid, and that kid's about 9 or 10 years to 11 years old. I can tell him these stories.
Mm-hmm. What about
Trying
your
to see
stories,
what he's
Scientist?
saying about us in the subtitles here.
Now tell me, what is the mad scientist's name again? I've forgotten.
Andrew.
Andrew, Dr. Andrew.
He has he has a lot of nicknames after the firecracker
Today's
incident. We
special
call him
guests
Sparky.
include-
Sparky, Dr. Sparky.
Dr. Sparky. He's in track at school, and he was over there doing his little push-ups, and some friends were throwing rocks, and he got hit in the head just before we came here. Had to have
No special guests are included, Jonathan? Ah, here we go.
Oh, look at there. You spelled his name right.
Yeah, he did.
He's had enough schooling by now, I would hope.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
do you have a nickname that you prefer?
Not really. There's too many. Sometimes I forget them
Uh-huh.
because I have about 30 of them.
Well, I know Rocky. Well, we started calling him Rocky after you got hit in the head. That's all we
What
lost.
do you like
Sparky.
to be called, Andrew?
I really don't like to be called by anything. It really doesn't matter to me because
You should have
after
been
a
watching the
while of getting so
subtitles.
many nicknames, I just got used to it.
Uh-huh.
My friends just think of a new one every once in a while.
Do you have any scientific projects you're currently working on that you would like to reveal to the rest of the world now? I hear that you take everything apart.
Yeah, I do.
And
Well-
you put it back together too, right?
Right?
That's good. I was good at
If you have
taking
spare
stuff
parts, we put
apart,
them back
but I could
together.
never. Yeah.
Tell me about the incident at school where the teacher locked the door.
Oh yeah. Well, my teacher locked the door, and she couldn't find her keys. But somebody during right after school stuck a pin in there, broke a pin cap in there. So the teacher went down to the office. So I was trying to be a nice person. I went to go try to fix the door, and I was trying to get a little paper clip and dig it out. And I was trying to open the door pig locking it. So I said, well, I can't do it. And I gave up. I just walked away. And somebody else went in there and tried to do it and got the paper clip jammed.
Uh-huh.
So a while back, they called me, somebody else up to the office, and we all got ISAs because there's this one kid that stuck a paper clip in the doorknob and got stuck. And the janitor got all mad at us.
Yeah, he had
would
to pay
imagine.
for that one. What about the time you went into the library, and what did you ask the librarian for? Do you have any books on?
Fireworks.
No. No, because they had the resource officer down there, the counselor came down there, the administrators came down there.
Nuclear fission?
What did you ask for?
I asked for a book on explosives and fireworks, and the librarian was like, what? She was
And
like,
how
no.
how to make bombs.
And how to make bombs and stuff like that. And she was like, no, we don't have stuff on that. And she,
Seems normal to me.
I know, that's why.
For him.
So she said no, so I just carried on with my day. Second day later, they called me up to the office. I was being greeted by the guidance counselor and the deputy. And they were asking me, now, why did you want a book on this? I was like, well, I found explosives interesting. They're like, you weren't planning to blow up the school, were you? And they're just asking me a whole bunch of these questions. Finally, I told them, I said, if I wanted to blow up the school, I would have did it already.
Did you tell them when they asked you if you were thinking about blowing up the school? You should have said, well, the thought had crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, what a different world we live in.
You should have said, I hadn't been thinking about it,
But now you mention
Good
We
idea.
live in
That's
such
a
a
great
different
idea.
world. And when I was in elementary school, literally, I used to joke with the principal about wanting to blow up the school all the time.
Yeah,
And he
that-
just laughs like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Right.
Now you
Well,
end up in jail for saying
Back
something
when,
like that.
back when I was a kid and still had a brother, my brother was in the local CAP unit, and they actually wrote a little document that later got beefed up and turned into what is now published as the Anarchist Cookbook. So
Yeah, when I was in school, it was just assumed that anybody with a more than double-digit IQ already was planning to blow up the school. So,
And nobody worried about it, right? I said they didn't worry about it, did they? Or you didn't get locked
no,
up?
It was. I could have come up easily with 24 kids that were planning to blow up the school at any given time. That was.
yeah, on the other hand, except in various rural areas, there'd be almost there'd be nobody at school that even thought about bringing a gun.
In rural
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in rural areas, but I grew up sort
Oh,
of in
yeah.
LA, and we never thought about guns.
That's right. Kids take guns to school nowadays.
Yes,
don't
they do. Yes, they do. And they know how to get past the metal detectors and all that stuff.
Are there guns at your school? Do you know? No guns at your school.
No.
Where do
There
you
was
go
a
to school?
gun. There was a gun in school when Jonathan went to school.
Where do you go to school?
I go to Admiral Richard E. Byrd. It's a brand new middle school that they just built.
Where is it? What town are you in?
Winchester.
Winchester, Virginia?
Yep.
Is where it is?
Admiral E. Byrd.
I think when Jonathan was in school at Ayler, they were all in the cafeteria, and some kid whipped out a gun from his book bag and start, waving it around and saying whatever it was he was saying. And Jonathan said everybody just went underneath the tables, and one of the PE teachers got him from the back. And now that was before, years ago. I can't remember when he was in middle school. That was very unusual, though.
I think the old school, when we went to school, you had ducking covers, so really weren't concerned about. We were told that bombs were coming anyway, so we didn't have to bring them to school.
We should have had that where I went to school and we didn't.
Yeah.
I heard about it. I saw the commercials later in life. We
The
should
civil
have that.
defense, yeah.
I knew people that were
Yeah, so
digging
nobody
bomb
really
shelters
thought
in their
about it.
backyard.
Oh, yeah.
But
You didn't even have to waste energy on doing that because it was already going to happen.
They had sirens going off every Saturday at noontime to make sure that they worked and
You
all that
remember
stuff.
that?
Oh, yeah.
Every Saturday,
Yeah.
sounds.
Noon.
Yeah.
well, we had the neighborhood I lived in was bordered on by two sides by the state mental hospital, which is part of how I come by my natural abilities.
Right,
But,
they had escapes.
they had escapes, and you'd hear the horns. It was actually split across a major highway road. It was like 4, 5, 6 lane road.
So it's kind of majestic.
And so the horns would answer each other that
okay.
we were both looking for you. Burr, burr, burr.
Hopefully it wasn't like at 2 o'clock in the morning.
It went off
There you
whatever
go,
you want.
you little car thief.
Yes.
When was it that when you were in school? Remember the gun incident?
Yeah, I was getting ready to come in and talk about it. I was going to see if I had a chair. Is there tea for me?
No
If you
tea.
like- Yeah. Grab him
You can have my chair.
Grab him he's gonna get a chair.
Careful.
Grab him a cup there, and I think there's tea.
Got an extra
Oh,
saucer.
is this-
This cup was extra, is it
No,
not?
this is.
That was extra,
Yeah,
yes.
this looks clean.
We're getting slack on the tea.
Yeah,
Someone's
the
not
sudden
doing a job.
infusion of extra people soaked it all up. It's very hard to predict. We had a lot of leftover
I
tea yesterday.
didn't know we were infusing people. I thought we were doing tea.
Yeah, what you did?
Infusion of people.
Yeah, I wasn't ready, Jonathan. I didn't realize that I had run out of some of the tea. Is there any green left?
Need more water?
Nope.
No. Oh my goodness. Well, then we know where the rest of this
How
is.
old were you, what grade were you when you cleaned that kid's clock in England?
6th grade.
6th grade.
Only fight I ever got in.
Gee, Jonathan, we got to talking stories about you so bad that I completely neglected to keep the tea going. I got.
Well, speaking of the school, like Winchester, Virginia is kind of, it's a lot like here in that it's a small town. It's got a lot of, the only thing that really ever came out of Winchester is, everybody knows about is Patsy Cline. So that's the one thing that only ever came out of Winchester, Virginia.
Crazy.
Yes, the Patsy Cline is from Winchester,
Admiral
Virginia.
Byrd, the explorer.
Yes, and but other than that, it's really famous for like its Civil War history. I think it changed hands like 20 or 30 times during the course of the Civil War, so it's very fought over territory. Other than that, nobody knows about Winchester, Virginia. Most of the time when I go somewhere else, I just say I'm from D.C. because people know where D.C. is. Nobody knows where Winchester, Virginia is. So it's a lot like here in that like, it's it's a small city, but you go 20 minutes outside of town, you are in near. You go, oh, where were you with the guitar, man? That'd be perfect. So yeah.
I'm gonna get up and get
Did it
some tea
earlier.
Stuff. Just you can take my seat. Just don't do that.